He finished his coffee, staring at the empty cup as though it were a mirror reflecting the hollow spaces in his own life. The steam had long dissipated, leaving only the faint scent of roasted beans that seemed almost bitter against the loneliness that clung to him. James had lived in this quiet rhythm for years: work, home, coffee, sleep, and had convinced himself that the emptiness wasn't a problem but a shield. Life, after losing his wife 5 years ago, had become a series of careful steps designed to avoid disappointment. Love, connection, joy, they were luxuries he no longer allowed himself. Yet, that morning, everything changed with the simple presence of a little boy in the corner of the cafe. Noah was no more than 7, small for his age, with unruly blonde hair that fell into inquisitive blue eyes. He had been doodling in a notebook, completely absorbed, until his gaze drifted to James. Without hesitation, he stood and walked over, an innocent confidence in every step, and asked in a voice so calm it pierced James's solitude, "Don't you want to meet my mom?" James blinked, startled. The question hung in the air, simple and straightforward, yet heavy with implications he wasn't sure he was ready to confront. "Meet your mom," he repeated, almost as if saying the words aloud could help him decide. But Noah didn't wait for an answer. He tilted his head and added, "She thinks you'll be good for us." And just like that, James felt the fragile beginnings of hope stirring in a heart that had long been dormant. For a moment, James wanted to retreat into the safety of his solitary routine. But there was something in the boy's gaze, a quiet insistence, a fearless belief, that made retreat impossible. Something told him that stepping forward might lead to something he had been longing for without even realizing it. Emily, the boy's mother, stood a few feet behind, watching cautiously. She was in her early 30s, with soft brown hair loosely pinned back, her eyes revealing both wariness and warmth. A single mother, she had been through her share of storms, a broken engagement, financial struggles, and the constant pressure of raising Noah alone. She had learned to protect herself and her son, to guard against people who might come and go, leaving heartbreak in their wake. But James's presence, quiet and tentative as it was, seemed different, gentle, thoughtful, unassuming, and she found herself cautiously curious. The first meeting was tentative. Conversation stumbled over small talk and polite smiles. James, awkward at first, discovered that Emily had a soft laugh that reminded him painfully of his late wife, and it brought a strange mixture of warmth and sorrow. Noah, perceptive and unafraid, quickly bridged the gap between them, asking questions, sharing jokes, and pulling James into a world of playfulness he had long forgotten. Each small interaction, each shared laugh, was a stitch weaving James slowly back into the fabric of human connection. Days turned into weeks. Coffee dates became walks in the park, simple dinners turned into game nights, and James discovered joys he hadn't known he was capable of feeling. He marveled at the way Noah's eyes lit up at small victories, the first time he rode his bike without training wheels, the first time he solved a tricky puzzle. And Emily, she began to see James not as a stranger, but as a presence that brought light and steadiness to their lives, a quiet strength that was both grounding and comforting. But life was never without its trials. Emily's past left her hesitant, her trust earned only slowly. She scrutinized James's every word and gesture, wary of disappointment. Arguments would flare over minor misunderstandings, her protective instincts clashing with James's desire to be present. He, too, wrestled with his fears, the fear of losing another person, the fear of failing at something as fragile as love, the fear that perhaps he didn't deserve this happiness. Noah, however, refused to see the walls around their hearts as permanent. His small, unwavering optimism acted as a balm for their wounds. "Come on, Dad," he would say, using the term affectionately before it truly applied, "she's nice. You'll like her. I promise." And somehow, through a child's innocent insistence, James learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the choice to move forward despite it. One rainy evening, the three of them found themselves huddled under a single umbrella. The city glistened with rain-soaked streets, reflections of neon lights shimmering like tiny stars. Noah laughed, kicking at puddles, while Emily clutched the umbrella, her hand brushing against James's. There were no words necessary, sometimes the silence of shared presence spoke louder than anything else. For the first time in years, James allowed himself to feel the warmth of belonging, the tentative promise of a life rebuilt. Over the months, milestones arrived, birthdays celebrated together, holidays for the first time as a family, simple weekend mornings filled with pancakes and laughter. James discovered the delicate art of patience, assembling Lego sets with Noah and learning that love often meant attention to the smallest details. Emily began to rely on James, not out of necessity, but out of trust, a trust that had been slowly earned through consistent care, honesty, and shared vulnerability. Yet, it was the quiet, ordinary moments that carried the greatest weight. One Sunday morning, as sunlight streamed through the living room window, James watched Noah and Emily playfully argue over a board game. The sound of laughter, light and unrestrained, filled the apartment in a way that was almost painful in its beauty. James realized he was no longer just an observer in life, he was part of it, woven into a tapestry of shared experiences, love, and hope. It wasn't a perfect life. They fought, they stumbled, they doubted, but the bond they formed was unbreakable, a testament to resilience and the human capacity for love. James came to understand that loss does not have to define a person, that the heart can expand to accommodate joy even after grief, and that happiness is found not in perfection, but in the messy, beautiful reality of living fully. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in warm hues of orange and pink, James found himself sitting on the porch, watching Noah chase fireflies while Emily leaned against his shoulder. The world felt impossibly full, rich with beauty and promise. He thought of the question Noah had asked months ago and realized it had been the first spark of a transformation that would shape the rest of his life. A little boy's faith, a woman's cautious hope, and his own willingness to take a leap of faith had created something extraordinary. He understood now that life's most meaningful moments often arrived in unexpected ways, through small gestures, a question from a child, a shared laugh, or the courage to embrace vulnerability. The moments we often overlook, the moments we might rush past in the pursuit of certainty, were the ones that had the power to heal, to inspire, and to redefine everything we thought we knew about ourselves. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that second chances are real and that kindness can change lives, please engage with this video, like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel to support stories that inspire hope and love. And before the story ends, I'd love for you to leave a comment sharing the moment that reminded you to never give up on love or family. That night, as the fireflies lit the yard and the first stars appeared in the darkening sky, James realized something profound: life was meant to be shared. The love he had once thought impossible had returned, not as a fleeting moment, but as a steady, enduring presence. Emily and Noah had opened doors he had long kept shut, teaching him that vulnerability is strength, that second chances are real, and that a heart willing to trust could find joy even after unimaginable loss. James watched Noah's laughter echo in the quiet yard, felt Emily's hand in his, and knew with certainty that he had found a family to call his own. They were imperfect, sometimes messy, and beautifully real. And in that reality, James discovered a truth that changed everything: happiness was not in avoiding risk, but in embracing it, in daring to hope, and in choosing to love despite fear. And so, as the night settled around them, James, Emily, and Noah sat together, a family bound not by circumstance, but by choice, courage, and an unwavering belief in one another. And James knew that, finally, he had arrived at the place he had been searching for all along, a place of love, laughter, hope, and the miraculous promise of second chances.